But the bottom line is that, we are the only ones who actually have developed a coaching group that just at every level, from level 1 to level 4, just keeps putting people through the next thing tirelessly. I mean, truly, when I see what my coaches do, Chad, just probably like you see what your installers do, you're like, man, I can't believe somebody works that hard.
Chad Perterman here, and you are listening to Can't Stop the Growth, a platform for leaders and teams to grow and thrive. We highlight the importance of personal development, pursuing greatness, and always chasing your potential. Let's get into it. Hello and welcome to another episode of Can't Stop the Growth. I'm your host, Chad Perterman, and today I have a very special guest on the podcast. Likely you've heard of him on a podcast or been in one of his trainings. I know we have gained a ton of knowledge here at Perterman Brothers about sales, increasing average ticket, and so much more from this man. To talk to you about how we can accomplish some of these things in your business, I'm extremely excited to welcome from Service MVP, Mr. Joe Crisara. Welcome to the show, Joe.
Thanks, Chad, for having me out here. Definitely, this is a home game for sure, and definitely I've when it comes to my thoughts on Perterman Services and what you and Tyler have done. The Perterman brothers, the brother part of it is one of the most important part because it's family, and it's probably the largest family business I've ever seen, and definitely still hasn't lost that feeling. And I feel like when I think of it, I think of family, and I feel like think of quality, and I think of great service, and it's a great service to be here today with you. And definitely, it's one of the easiest things I ever did was fall in love with your company, Chad. So thanks for inviting me here.
Well, I appreciate that, Joe. That means a lot. Obviously, you've seen your fair share of contractors in your work and what you continue to do and the value that you continue to bring to our industry as a whole. So can't thank you enough for being on here with me to talk a little bit today. I know that all the listeners will get a ton of value out of this one. So make sure you listen and take some notes and learn along the way. But I guess for those of you that maybe haven't heard of you, maybe give us a little bit of your background and then obviously what you're focused on today with Service MVP and kind of the help that you're providing to contractors.
Well, I have I've been in the HVAC, plumbing, and electrical business for 47 years. Well, it's 1977, so what is that? It's about 47 years. And the best way to put it to everybody is that there's about 23 years of doing things completely the wrong way, where I call myself a cement head back in the old days, and I was just trying to push that rock uphill and barely keeping myself above the water line. I was between just barely drowning and staying alive. And then it was about 24 years of doing it the right way, where I've learned from some of the same people you've learned from some of the great Next Star organization back then when it was called Contractors 2000. And so like Forrest Gump, I've kind of lived through the history of the growth of this industry, and definitely I feel sometimes I have to pinch myself to think of all the mentors like Frank Blau and other people like that who have helped me, George Brazil and Maurice Mayo and people like that who are like the Mount Rushmore of all the best practices, if you will, could say that. And I've just been fortunate to kind of just be a part of that. And one of my smartest things I ever did was document it, so that all the things I did, I took great notes, and I turned those notes into different books and videos and things like that. So everything you see is like, man, where does he get that from? It's astounding. Well, truthfully, if I had to list all the people I got it from, it would be a very large list. So I'm just here to bring information to the trades that I'm a messenger in a way from the past that can be relevant to the information that we're going through right now in the present.
One of the things that I know that listeners and heck, I've even been through it. You said that you'd been through it that when you figure out that, oh, things can be done a little bit different, or, hey, maybe I was doing this wrong. What were some of those things that when you made that transition to like, oh crap, I maybe have been doing this wrong for a minute. What were some of those things that early on you identified as, oh, these are things that can change and I need to do them a little bit different? That doesn't mean that what I was doing was wrong. It's just there's a better way to do it.
Yeah, that's a really good way of putting it, Chad, because nobody has really failed. I'm hard on myself in those first 23 years. But truthfully, it wasn't the fact that I was, doing it wrong per se. I just did it the best I knew how to do it. So all of you out there who are doing things, when you hear what's called the paradigm shift, a paradigm shift is seeing the same thing you normally do, just a little bit different way. And you're like, wow, that would make a difference. And so that's really my whole life has been built on those different paradigm shifts to see things different. And, here's what I would say, Chad. Whenever I see a salesperson individually or a service tech who's struggling to generate revenue or to be able to get clients to move the direction they want them to move, usually it's because their system that they're working under is a faulty system, that we're putting the person in a position to not succeed. And, if you watch a football team, it's like, the coach doesn't always have the best players, but the best coach puts the players he has in the right position to succeed inside the right system, and he runs the right plays. And that's all the coach can do. He can't, be on the field and do all the rest of it. But if you put the players in the right position, you put myself was one of those players with some of the changes I've made, like even the system of dispatch. If you give people all the calls on the schedule, then they're going to be distracted. Well, too many things to do. If you said, let's just give you one call right now and focus on that. And when you finish that call, we'll take a look at it and then we'll see if that's right. And if it's right, we'll give you the next call. So that creates a little more accountability. And if that system was like that, then, I think that would change the salesperson in a way, right? So systems change people is what I would say. And so it's definitely no better truth than when we work with Peterman, how we tried to change the system, which you were operating with the call-by-call management and things like that, in which I feel we made an impact. And then you took it and you learned other things too, and you modified it and made it your own type of a system, right? So, and that's really what we all do. We all take small little paradigm shifts. We see different ways of doing things. And if your mind is closed to those different ways, that's the thing. You can't, the enemy is the status quo, and you got to realize things are going to change. If you are going to drive the change, I believe, I don't know if you would think about this, Chad, but I feel like the universe rewards those people who drive change rather than people who wait for change. Does that make sense, or Chad? What do you think about that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think you hit the nail on the head. I was just sent out an email to the team this morning, and try to every Monday, and it was all about your mindset, and that your mind is the most powerful weapon that you have. And if you think that you just keep getting knocked down and things aren't going your way, well, you're right. They aren't. And the only way to shift that and to make things start going in your favor is to shift your mindset to, attract those things that you're actually wanting from life. And I think the same is true in this business. If you're struggling, to your point, well, what can you change? What can you drive through the organization that's going to help your team succeed?
I think, Chad, too, I think it's not just a matter of finding things that are going to work. It's removing the things that don't work. If you can remove something that's not working, then something about, I'm not sure if it's God or the universe or how you want to put it, but something good shows up in place of the thing that wasn't working. And that's what I feel like the hesitancy to eliminate or get rid of something is not working and just say, I'm going to put that off to the side and stop doing it this way. And I'm not sure what I'm going to do. But usually what happens is that the right thing just shows up. And that's kind of what I feel like at the very minimum, I think everybody can do that, recognize things that aren't working. Like just emailing people proposals that doesn't work. You'd presenting it to them, if it's on Zoom, whether it's on, a phone or whatever kind of a thing, but something better than, a personal presentation is better than just a email presentation or things like that. Makes sense? So these are things that I've learned that are, I could make a list for you today if you'd like. We could definitely go over a list of things. It'd be great to cover that because I think that's, I think a lot of people are commonly unsure about some of those things. And if I can do something to create a little more certainty for the contractors who are listening to this program, I would definitely be all up for that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think maybe that's a great place to start. So obviously, at least here in the Midwest, the heat is here and looks to be staying for a little bit, which is good. I know we're excited about that. I guess if a contractor is listening right now and they're maybe of that mindset of like, hey, I can't get things going. It just seems like this year's been tough and so on and so forth. I guess what are some of those things? Let's start talking about them. What are some of those things that you're seeing with contractors that, you made a great example of the email presentation. Well, that doesn't work as well as something else. So that's a slight change that can easily affect your results. What are some of those things that, are kind of those low hanging fruit that listeners could be kind of checking off their list of, are we doing this? Are we not doing this? How do we fix it?
Number one, I think to start, if you're going to talk about in-home opportunities, which I think that's what hopefully people would come here to listen to me for that reason. Let's stick with that for now because there's so many things in the company I could go through with inventory and everything else like that. But let's just stick with the in-home experience. I would say number one, people are more important than things. So when you go on a call, service call, sales call, maintenance call, electrical, plumbing, whatever is drain, whatever you're doing, it doesn't make a difference. Number one, people are more important than things. So you have to focus on the people in the home and creating that relationship with people first. So don't seek to move yourself toward the technical problem or the technical solution or whatever trade you have. Focus on the people problem and what frustration that the problem that they're calling you for is causing in the family. Does that make sense? If we do that, then there's two things that happen. Number one, as the client expresses the frustration they're going through or the stress or worry or fear that they have with the problem because their mom is coming in here, she's got cancer, or my daughter's got eczema and she has to have this hot water, or my son's got asthma. He can't go one day without that air conditioning. It has to be reliable. Those are things that you hear the frustration there. Two things happen. The client begins to sell themselves that we can't wait and we can't shop around. We got to get this stuff fixed. And number two, the service provider, you are more sold that, hang on, I'm going to stop worrying about my own family. I'm going to stop worrying about all the crap that happened this morning at the office. I'm going to start worrying about this family right now instead and put all the rest of it, all the smoke clears, if you would say that. And so, just to ask questions about people in the family. Like, so, how many people live in the home, or, what happened? Who's the one who first noticed about this problem? Who's the one who brought this up and noticed we needed the air conditioning estimate? Or who's the one who said that we need to get this hot water fixed? And like, your daughter, what did she say? And what was that like? Just ask those kind of questions and focus on customer focused questions. And then the technical part will always emerge. It's like, yeah, and that's why we need the hot water because my daughter's got eczema. See? I'm like, okay, so if I provided hot water, what would happen then? Yeah, we'd go ahead and get the damn thing done. Okay, good. Because I think some people are looking to get a commitment or looking for people to tell the service provider. There was a movement where people for a while back in the mid 2000s were saying, hey, find out the budget that people have to spend on this project, right? Truthfully, that's the last thing you want to put first. You want to put the relationship first. You have to earn the right to where people say they want to be committed to this project. So if you want people to commit to this project to get it done, let's not shop around. Invest the time into the family, and that will see the smoke clear for both the family and you. Does that make sense, sir, Chad?
Yeah, I think you nailed it there. And I think the important thing that I would want listeners to get out of what you just said there is, if there's one thing that you can do to help coach your team, it's to emphasize the result is based on the level of care that you have for that particular customer that you're sitting in front of. I think a lot of trainings are, centered around, well, ask open-ended questions. And, often field professionals are like, well, what does that mean? Well, what I've learned is that if you just tell them to care as much as humanly possible for that customer, guess what? Open-ended questions arrive. That's how you find them. There isn't a script for them. It's, hey, bring your level of care to a level that you would care for your own family, but talk to them and show them that you care. And all of a sudden they'll start telling you what their problem is because they trust you to fix it.
And there is the gap right there, Chad, in society today. Because if you said care about the customer as much as you care about your own family, you would assume because the Peterman family or the Crisara family, it's a special family to both of us, right? But there's some people, the family structure has fallen apart in this country, and it's difficult. This is why the training I provide is needed. In a way, service MVP, or when people go to visit Peterman Brothers, what they're getting is a sense of family. And they're like, this is what I want my company to be like. This is what I want to do. When they hear what we do or they hear what you do, they're like, I'm proud of this. I know you are too, that it's a standard you're setting. And I think, people need that. They need to get training and guidance on how to show empathy, to care, to respect, support the family, right? But if you're having a hard time with your own family and your own marriage is breaking up, or been through a home where the parental structure broke down, it is difficult to do that. So this is exactly why when you say I don't need training on this, well, you may not need training on the exact open-ended questions and all that technical jargon. That's communication technical jargon is the other thing, right? But getting an example of what it looks like to feel for other people and hearing somebody who does that, it kind of strikes a chord in us, I think. That's like, you know what? That's the way I need to start doing things. That's the way service should be done like that. And it's not just Peterman doesn't have the exclusivity, and neither does Service MVP. Anybody can do that. Anybody, no matter how big of the size you are, if you're struggling and you're having a hard time, it's like, dude, don't worry about the next call. Don't worry about your marketing. Worry about going out there and making friends with people. The opportunity that we all have is only there because of the friendships and the relationships we make with people. And then the Peterman name can spread. People say, how did you grow this company so big? I guarantee it's like this. You and Tyler didn't do it on your own. It took a whole community of people in Indianapolis to support this. And they supported it because they felt cared for, respected, and supported. And that's why the people of Indianapolis have grown this company. Peterman Brothers didn't grow this company. It's the people who sense that care, respect, and support that did. And I think we could all take a lesson from the Chad and Tyler Peterman playbook if we all did that.
Yeah, well, no, I appreciate you saying that, but I think it's so true, and I think that's, as you do, I talk to a number of people, and it always the same conversations come up. We can't find enough people, can't get enough leads, we're not doing enough with them, and I think all of that kind of centers back to, well, maybe you're not getting people because they don't know how much you care. Your recruiting problem is often a you problem. If we have people that leave here, I take that personally. Like, well, why did you leave? Why did you think something was better? I want to be the best option for you to, go chase your dreams and live out your career. So I think that's all, super important stuff there along the lines of kind of that care and process. One question I'd have for you is kind of what got you into the, you said you were out in the field, in the trenches and doing all of that. What got you into the training side of things and helping so many people out?
Well, when I was back in the early 90s, the manifestation of not knowing what I was doing really, I was just a service technician who started a business and didn't know how to run any business systems at all. And so once I learned what to do, one of my clients guided me. He's like, Joe, can I just show you a better way of doing service? And he had pity on me. He was like, you're always trying to save people money. And he was like, Joe, you need to diagnose the whole thing. You only diagnose what people want you to do. You got to look at everything else too that is going to be needed in the future. You have to start providing that for people. It's going to cost more money, but this is the profit you're going to need is the future thing. So he said that 5% of what you're going to make on every call is the thing that's needed now. 95% are the things that are needed in the future that you have to provide now so that you're anticipating what people need. So he came up with the concept of, diagnosing the whole system and then making premium mid-range economy choices. And I was like, $450,000 in debt in 1991, which is today's world would probably be $5 million in debt or whatnot. By December of 1994, I was debt free. And the way I did that, though, was training what my client told me to do. And I realized that the sweet spot of what I really love to do is change people's mind from one thing to another and see them grow, personal growth of our employees. And once I saw that, I'm like, this is what I want to do. This is the thing. I didn't want to, heating and cooling, I love to do it too. I mean, I'm still a junkie when it comes to the technical plumbing, heating and cooling and things like that. I pride myself on being the best for that too. But I also pride myself on being the best communicator to teach people to do that. And so I had other people who saw myself get out of debt in 3 years, that much debt in 3 years. It was because I was selling warranties and services and future services. People didn't ask me for an air conditioning. I just said I'm going to provide one anyway. And they don't ask me for air quality. I'm going to provide it every time anyway. So I didn't cut down my presentation. I just said I'm going to show people the best at the top and the thing they ask me for at the bottom and let people just choose the one that's right for them. By doing it that way, what happened was just that I love to teach it. And so other people ask me, how'd you get out of debt? How'd you get, you guys were dead. And all of a sudden you got all these trucks, and all of a sudden you got all these guys. And did somebody buy you? I said, no, nobody bought me. My clients bought me. My clients are the ones who rescued me in a way, right? Because they got better service, then all of a sudden they responded to the better service. And so I knew I had to teach it. And in 2001, we sold to one of your friends at ABC Plumbing, Gordon and Brian Schroll, with a great Nexstar company there. But I realized that the training part of it is really what was missing in this trade. And I feel like that's a piece I could help provide through my experience. And I realized my passion emerged for that. It had nothing to do with money. I wasn't saying I'm going to get rich. This isn't a get rich quick scheme. This is something that, a matter of fact, my first 5 years, it was all performance consulting. I didn't charge anything unless we made money with it. I said, I have enough money right now from the sale of my business where I don't have to, charge you up front. I can just make sure that we make more money. And I'm going to ask you for some of the money we're going to make. That's what we did. We did peer performance consulting for like 2005, and then I was fortunate enough that everybody knew it was going to work. And once people know it's going to work, then they happily invest in what we do, because when you invest in service MVP, you're not giving money to us and not getting money back. For every dollar you give us, you're going to get thousands of dollars back, and that's really what I pride myself on with the training we provide, and that's really what makes me feel good about it. I don't feel like ever like I'm asking for somebody for something that they're not going to get back money from it.
Tell us, I guess that's a good segue. Obviously, I'm sure people with your name and obviously associated with Service MVP. I know we've used your services, and I guess maybe tell me a little bit about kind of Service MVP and what that looks like. And if I'm a listener and I'm interested, like, okay, I kind of get what Joe's saying here. What's it all about, I guess?
So I'm very proud to tell you that we've had over 33,000 companies over the years come through Service MVP, and not just in heating and cooling, but even, landscaping and other things like that, right? So definitely we had a big impact on the service world. And at one time people thought it was just crazy. Like, you can't offer people stuff for that much money. And said, well, we can show you, I can prove what you can do it that way, right? So about the first 10 years, I took a lot of, going through it. And I was just myself doing it all. Me and my wife, my glorious wife, Julie, who is really the brains behind this outfit. I'm more of the talent. I'm like, if this was Disney, I'd be Mickey Mouse and she'd be Walt Disney. Let's put it that way. So she's the one who's got the hard job of all the other stuff to build this thing, right? So definitely, I'm fortunate to have her. But it wasn't probably about 2010 to where we started taking on an idea that we could grow this as a coaching program. Today we have, I think, 18 coaches who work in our program, and we're the only company that does onboarding, orientation, and training of all your employees every single day of the week and every single hour of the day. It's like a radio show going on over here at Service MVP. So typically, what people do on the coaching level, it's either self-guided or guided. But of course, we have tons of content, more content than anybody has ever created. Is in Service MVP. If you open up the doors of that, you're going to be flooded with information. So we have done a great job of now making a new portal which allows you to organize that content better. But what happens now is that people who do coaching with us, there's an onboarding and orientation period, and we do a thing where people are coached for 90 minutes a day. We'll play a couple videos, make you do an online test, and then they will role play with your team for 3 weeks straight, and then graduate people. And then after that, they continue to do a graduation 1 week, once every week. You meet with our other coaches and they go on to another level, like maintenance calls or calls where it's like a lead turnovers, or how do you do call by call management, or what kind of management system do you put in place? There's different mastery classes that goes on for 24 months. So it's like a university. The only ones that do it for you, right? A lot of people, even Nexstar does a great job of giving you the information and having you come to the live classes. And those are great. And so are our live classes too. And I'm proud to be at that standard. The Nexstar holds a standard, and I feel like I think Nexstar and us, we kind of like look at each other like, what are they doing to make sure we can keep up, make sure we're both looking at each other to see what's the best practice. We truly feel each other is the best, and we want to make sure we compete in that way, in a quality way that helps contractors. That's really what I think everybody's trying to do there. But the bottom line is that, we are the only ones who actually have developed a coaching group that just at every level, from level 1 to level 4, just keeps putting people through the next thing tirelessly. I mean, truly, when I see what my coaches do, Chad, just probably like you see what your installers do. You're like, man, I can't believe somebody works that hard. I know I worked hard, but not like that. I mean, these these guys are really doing it like that. So I'm just so proud of all the people and the effort we have over here, and the coaches that and the trainers we have here that like this morning they're already started at 7 a.m. Eastern time. They've already run we've already had 4 different classes run from 7 a.m. Eastern till 8:30 Eastern already, and they're moving on to the next one. Take a little break for a half an hour, move on to the next one, and they just keep doing it. And the funny thing is, they do it just like it was the first time they ever did it. They love it so much, like I love doing this so much, that it seems like it's the first time they've ever done it when they do it. So really proud of that and proud of all the instructions that we have. Basically, in essence, we just create a system of persuasion that allows people to sell themselves. We're not really a sales training team. We really believe that the clients can't be sold. I don't think anybody can be sold on getting your water heater fixed. I think it's like you need to sell yourself on that, right? And I think we're good at getting the client to sell themselves on it. That's really the system and what it's all about at Service MVP.
Yeah. Well, and I think that too, at least for me, and I wasn't as close to it, but I think the important thing and what you said there is it's not like, hey, here's a playbook, good luck. It's, hey, that your people are there by their side, kind of walking them through it. Because, I know that I'm not the best trainer in the world, and many other business owners may not be that person either. And to me, having someone like you guys alongside, I think is the key. And you mentioned it is the kind of the differentiator, right? It's, hey, we're going to be there at every step of the way.
It is. It's service. Well, service means that we do it for you. We did make a mistake from 2010 to about 2020. We erroneously thought that contractors could just take the information and train themselves. We didn't realize that training and coaching is in itself a trade in a way. Does that make sense? And never thought of it that way. I thought, well, anybody can get up there and teach people something. Truthfully, why do teachers go to college for 4 years? Why to even teach kindergarten, you can't be the state of Indiana wouldn't accept somebody who hasn't gone to college to teach a kindergarten class even in the state school, states sponsored school. So if you can't even be a kindergarten teacher, anybody could think that's easy, but truthfully, you'd have to know how to run the class and how to discipline the children and how to. There's so much more that goes into it other than just coloring books and the lessons you're teaching. Is the whole undercurrent of all the things that are needed. Like when Peterman University creates the things that it creates, you realize that the instructor is the smallest piece of it, or the training is actually the smallest piece. The facility, there's everything else that goes into it that it's hard to even list all this. It's just like heating and cooling. People think, well, you just put an igniter in and it's done, or anybody could do it. Well, that's just like training, right? It's like anybody could do it, right? Yeah, sure, anybody could try it. And anybody could try and put an igniter in. If I gave you a nut driver and an igniter, and you'd probably figure it out, but you wouldn't be able to do the gas pressure, the temperature rise, and all the rest of it that has to be done. The airflow analysis, the air quality analysis. Those are things that aren't going to be taught just by giving a nut driver and an igniter. Same with the training. It's like there's so much more depth to the term training. It's a lightly used term, but I need people to see the gravity of what goes into even 1 hour of training. For just like it is with heating and cooling, for every hour you work, there's probably 2 hours you're doing something else to prepare to get that work done. Same thing here. For every thing you do for training, there's probably 5 or 10 hours of things that took to prepare for that training.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that you made a great point there. And I think something that we learned along the way was, when it comes to training is bringing in educators that have that formal training, that know how to facilitate, that know all of those things and feel that they're important. And so we've gained a lot by, getting people that were former teachers or, it's a pretty good sales pitch, right? It's like, hey, you don't have to deal with unruly parents anymore. You just got to come and train every day. We don't get the summers off. That's our busy time, but you don't have to deal with all of the other stuff that goes. I know my daughter will be in kindergarten in the fall, and I can tell you, I could not teach that class. That is for sure. I'll be there to support, but I am thankful every day that there are people that are passionate about that for sure.
They always say, very similar. How many people who run a heating and air conditioning or plumbing or electrical company say, man, this is like running a daycare here or whatever. This place is running like a daycare. And I would say the only thing I disagree with, Chad, is it's not like running a daycare. It is a daycare. You got you have other people's children who are now adults, but I always say that even adults are small children in adult bodies. They all still have their childlike tendencies, and it's up to us to create discipline so that the leader is disciplined or the teacher is disciplined. And that's how students learn how to be disciplined. If they see the teacher always doing something every day the same way, they learn from that. And they're like, yep, I got to go back in that same square. I got to sit in that same circle. I've got to pay attention or else I'm going to wind up paying a consequence. Now, of course, the consequences when I was growing up and probably when you did in Indiana was a little bit different. Maybe I'll get a ruler on my knuckles or whatever. But nowadays, of course, we'd be arrested for that. So we got to use different techniques, which are actually more modern and better. Actually, we don't. There's a smarter way of doing it, and I think that's why I do have to give the teachers of today a lot of credit for what they do. And for doing it in a way that doesn't really result in anything where it's you're screaming or yelling. That's the lowest form of persuasion. I think they do it in a way that they care, again, showing that they care for the child, showing that they care for the parents. And that's where we got, that's a good teacher, you always say, right, when that happens. So I think that's it. And I think truthfully, when you're in somebody's home, you're the teacher. You're teaching people how to use their HVAC system or how to use that plumbing system or how hot water works when you're trying to explain the problem. And you're also trying to show how the better solution, how that works better as well. So you're always teaching people. Well, I think that's one thing I think is underrated for this. It could be the theme of the show. How do you teach people all those things? If you do that, then you emerge as the right person to do business with in a way.
I think you made two really good points there of the, everybody's heard it's like daycare around here, which has such a negative connotation. But can you flip that? And to your point about training, where we train them for an hour a week and expect them to go play for 40 hours. And it's like, well, how do you create a company that's always learning, always training, always developing? And then truly, when you think about a school, everybody's getting better. Everybody's learning. It's not just everybody, is going out there and giving it their best shot. We've got the processes, procedures, it may not be sitting in a square, but, driving our vehicle effectively out on the roadways or, hey, we've got to run this process because we know this will be successful and deliver a high level of service. And I think that's something key where, again, back to what we were talking about with mindset at the beginning, it's like, if you don't have the right mindset and you just think that everybody is there to serve you, you're going to be sorely mistaken and probably not be extremely successful. Whereas if you can flip that and, as a leader, you can position yourself to be able to serve everybody on your team, ultimately they're going to take care of your customers and everything goes in a nice circle where everybody's benefiting from that mindset.
If you had told me 20 years ago that you would get service techs to keep their truck clean, wear their uniform perfectly, interact in a home, have technology like now Service Titan and how to operate that. I couldn't even get people to fill out a service ticket, much less learn all that technology, right? And then now you have the AI solution to evaluate themselves using some AI solutions and things like that. If you had told me that 20 years ago, you're going to get technicians to do all that stuff. We start thinking about the stack of things we are telling people in the field that they need to do to be effective in today's world. The human brain, I've seen the evolution. Seriously, I feel in real time, I have been witness to the evolution of people and what they are capable of doing because it's astounding all the things, if we actually stacked up all the things we expect people to do the right way, perfectly every single day, all the time without any variation from it. It's really amazing. I know when you sent several, 20, 30 people here to Los Angeles and teaching that right in that room behind me. And I was astounded at the amount of discipline. I felt like that thing with the kindergarten. How do they get these people to be in the same direction and think? But really what it is the value system that you are telling people this is what you need to do. And the values, I would say the big rock is the values, but the little small pebbles that fill in are all the details and things you need to do around that value system. Does that make sense, sir, Chad?
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Joe, we're coming close to time here, and I don't want to get away without telling people about your new book, It's newer. I think released maybe a couple of months ago. At this point in time, we're already in June.
Yeah, it was March 6th that came out, and now it's still an Amazon the best number one bestseller in the service industry. The book What Should We Do? Yeah, for sure, and it's definitely taken it by storm for sure, no doubt about it.
Yeah, that's awesome. So I guess tell people, obviously, I would recommend you so graciously sent me a copy, which I appreciate, that I've got on my bookshelf back here. Tell people a little bit about what they're going to get out of the book.
There's no watered down. This is not a book to get you interested in service MVP. It's a book that service MVP gives you a playbook. It's literally, if you're saying, what can I use the train on? Well, for $25 or $19 in an Audible, you are going to get a playbook where if you're a service manager or a sales manager or even just a customer service person and you want to have something to teach your team every day, randomly open up any page in that playbook and you're going to wind up being able to find a subject that you can teach on, right? And you can you're not going to run out of content. 460 pages of how to connect with clients, how do you diagnose the whole system, how do you get people to be committed, how do you deal with competition, how do you get the husband and wife and family to be together when you're presenting things to them, how do you make the premium mid-range economy prices, the science of pricing, how do you manage the project to bring it to a conclusion of a yes, no, another appointment. These are all the things that are in the book, and there's a lot of stories too, Chad. I think seriously, the book could have been 200 pages of just stories of things that failed and things that I learned, lessons learned from me. If you just had that part of it, if you only had 200 pages of it, that would be Uncle Joe's failure stories and Uncle Joe's what he learned from it and how he succeeded with those stories. You would learn the massive amount of failure it takes to find the right way to do something is what you're going to find in that book. So it's not just a book of how things are going to go good. There's a lot of stories about how things, the failures that things when things don't go good, and then your pivot to how you're going to then replace those things. Like we started out, it goes full circle, right? How do you find the things that don't work and replace them with things that do? That's what I'm most proud of in that book. I had an intention, and I threw the ball down the field and hope people would run underneath it. And the industry has run underneath it. We're over 5,000 sales of the material, whether it's Audible, which is a great achievement. I don't know if anybody knows. There's plenty of people who do books that get like 250 sales out of it, and they think that's great, right? So to get 5,000 people on their own free will to make a purchase of something like that is one of my proudest achievements. By the way, if you wanted to get a free book from us, you could actually by getting a test drive with Service MVP. So anybody who would like to get a free book, if you want, all you got to do is tolerate a test drive of our service so we can give you a tour of what Service MVP does. And we'd be happy to give you an Audible or one of those other kinds of Kindle if you want to deliver it right to your inbox if you were to get that from us. So that's another offer I could make to you today. So make sure that I would buy it for you. So I would make that purchase myself. So because I'm so proud of it. And I know that now, Chad, right now, we have had more leads than we've ever had here at Service MVP because people who have read the book are now prepared to purchase at Service MVP. They're like, you know what? I'm ready to buy your top package, right? And I know I want to do this already. So that's been from a standpoint of putting good vibes out there and trying to help people and then it returning itself back financially. The book epitomizes that, Chad. I didn't have I thought I'm going to put a couple $100,000 into this thing and not have any expectation of return, but I was wrong. I have a ton of return. It has returned that investment well over 10 times already. So I'm very proud of all that, both helping people as well as the financial aspects for our team. And it's done a great job of that too.
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate you sharing that. And I think that goes back to really what this whole conversation has been, kind of centered on is that, sharing the information, sharing lessons learned, all of that stuff eventually comes back. And it's about serving others, whether it be through a book, whether it be through training, whether it be through this podcast. I think that's our number one objective, here is just to continue to serve people, continue to lift up the industry, continue to help people. And at the end of the day, that makes everything else kind of take care of itself. And I think if people can put themselves in a situation to serve others, we're going to be in a lot better place. And you two are going to get whatever your needs are taken care of. So I really appreciate you spending a little bit of time with us today, sharing some of kind of the lessons learned. Definitely check out Service MVP, check out the book. As Joe said, the book is big. I too was surprised when it first got delivered. I was like, oh, wow, there's a lot of stuff in here. So appreciate you sharing that. And I think it's just exciting where our industry's headed. And a lot of that is thanks to people like yourself. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Chad, for your ability to communicate to the entire trades and the leadership that you've shown. I always feel like this. I feel like when I look at what Chad and Tyler Peterman have done, I know there's a family behind it, and it comes from your parental structure. And I definitely tell your mom and dad if are they still with us? Your mom and dad?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Well, hope you had a great time with your family yesterday at Father's Day, and definitely tell them that we thank them for the contribution of two fine young men who have helped bring positive thoughts and turn them into reality. Because I am a benefit of this just as much as anybody else is. So thank you so much for that, and thanks for letting me be on the podcast. I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. You're more than welcome. I'll definitely share that with them. But listeners, again, take what you've learned today, put it into action, use the resources that we spoke about, and don't be afraid to share. Can't thank you enough for tuning in to another episode of Can't Stop the Growth. We hope you found today's discussion inspiring, informative, as we explored some of the strategies and some of the things that Uncle Joe has bestowed upon the industry. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to subscribe to our podcast on your favorite platform so that you never miss an episode. And don't forget to leave us a review. Remember, growth is a journey, and it's all about taking small steps forward every single day. Keep pushing yourself, embracing new challenges, and never stop striving for progress. Until next time, keep growing, keep learning, and remember, you can't stop the growth.
Thanks for tuning in. If you'd like to get connected, you can find me at chadmpeterman.com. To see what our team's up to, you can visit petermanbros.com. As always, keep growing out there.